I'm 45 now, and it all started back when I was just 20 years old. That was when I found out my then-girlfriend cheated on me, with my own brother. It was a betrayal that cut deep, and I remember the raw, burning anger and heartbreak like it was yesterday. I told my brother right then that he was dead to me, no longer my brother in any sense that mattered. Over the years, despite my clear stance, my family never cut ties with him, which just added salt to the wound. I made it clear that if they wanted to choose between inviting him or me to gatherings, they should choose him because I wasn't going to be in the same room with him, ever. That has been my line in the sand, my non-negotiable. Fast forward to the present, and here we are with my daughter getting ready to marry next spring. You'd think time would heal all wounds, but some cuts are just too deep. In a turn of events that feels like a twist in a movie, my daughter recently sat me down and calmly dropped the news that she was inviting my brother and his family to her wedding. Yes, the very brother who backstabbed me. And worse, he married that same ex-girlfriend of mine. To add to the complexity, my daughter has been secretly building a relationship with them for the last 4 years, behind my back. She even wants her cousin, my niece from that marriage, to be the flower girl. I felt like I was living a nightmare. Hearing all this, my blood boiled as all those old wounds ripped open anew. Couldn't help but react. I told her straight up about my boundaries. If my brother was invited, I wouldn't be there, nor would I pay for any part of the wedding. Predictably, this didn't go over well. She got angry, accusing me of holding on to the past and making her wedding about my old grudges. The argument escalated quickly, voices raised, harsh words thrown. She left in tears, which tore at me, but I felt cornered, like my past was being dismissed as just old baggage. Then, as if the situation wasn't stressful enough, my ex-wife called me, furious. She called me an idiot, saying our daughter was crushed by my stance. My parents also weighed in, echoing similar sentiments, telling me I was being unreasonable and needed to get over it. I shut down and stopped taking their calls. My current girlfriend, who has been a rock through this, gently suggested I reconsider my position and apologize to smooth things over. She warned that I might irreparably damage my relationship with my daughter over this. And now, here I am, wrestling with a tangled mess of emotions. On one hand, my daughter's wedding is a milestone I should be part of. On the other, there's the deep-seated hurt and betrayal from my brother, something I've never truly gotten past. I keep turning it over in my mind. Should I stick to my boundaries, which are about respect and protecting my peace? Or do I cave to keep the peace and potentially open old wounds? The whole situation has left me feeling isolated from my family, and yet I know that making a stand could cost me my relationship with my daughter. I'm torn between the need to uphold my principles and the desire to be there for her on one of the most important days of her life. As I mull over my options, I'm considering ways to maybe be involved without having to directly confront my brother. Could I contribute in a way that keeps me physically distant from the wedding? How do I even begin to navigate a conversation with my daughter that doesn't end in more tears and anger? Am I the idiot for standing my ground? Update 1. It was just another Thursday, and I thought it was going to be a regular evening. Maybe fix up something quick for dinner, catch up on a TV show, and relax. But the moment I turned my key in the lock and pushed the door open, I realized today was anything but normal. Right there, in my own living room, were the last 2 people I ever expected to see. Sitting on my couch. My brother and his wife. The shock of seeing them there made my heart skip a beat. This was the brother who had backstabbed me years ago by cheating with my girlfriend, who he eventually married. And there they were, sitting casually, as if they hadn't turned my world upside down once. I stood frozen in the doorway, my keys still dangling in the door. What's going on here? I finally managed to ask, my voice sounding strange to my own ears. My daughter, Sarah, was there too, looking like she was caught between wanting to hide and wanting to explain everything. She stood up quickly, a nervous smile plastered on her face. "Hey Dad, you're home early," she said, as if that was the biggest surprise. "Why are they here?" I asked, my eyes flicking between my brother and his wife, not believing this was really happening. "Dad, I invited them over," Sarah admitted. "I thought it was time to sort things out. You know, before the wedding, sort things out," I repeated, incredulous. The room felt too small, the walls closing in as the anger started to bubble up inside me. "You think after everything that happened, after what he did, we can just sort things out like it's nothing?" My brother, who hadn't said a word yet, finally spoke up. His voice was calm, too calm. "I know this is hard, but I just thought..." "Hard?" I cut him off, not ready to hear whatever excuse he had. "You think this is just hard? You have no idea. You wrecked everything, and now you just show up in my living room like we're gonna have a nice little chat." Sarah stepped in front of me, her hands up like she was trying to physically stop the fight before it got worse. "Dad, please just listen for a second. This is important to me. I want my wedding to be a day when our whole family comes together, not falls apart." "This is not your family," I said firmly, pointing at my brother. I told you years ago, he's nothing to me now. And you, I turned to his wife. You're no better. The room went silent for a moment, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Sarah's face crumpled, tears starting to form in her eyes. Dad, why can't you just get over it? It's been years. Don't you see you're just holding on to old grudges? Old grudges. I let out a hollow, bitter laugh. These aren't just grudges. This is about respect, about trust. And I gestured angrily at my brother. He broke all of that, but I'm asking you as your daughter to try. For me, Sarah pleaded, her voice breaking. No, I said, my voice firm. I can't. Not with him. I turned to my brother and his wife. You need to leave. Now. Dad. Sarah started, but I cut her off. I said now. My voice boomed, louder than I intended. There was a painful moment where nobody moved. Then, slowly, my brother and his wife got up. They didn't say another word as they walked to the door, but my daughter's eyes stayed on me, hurt and accusing. You're going to regret this, she whispered, a tear rolling down her cheek. You're choosing your pride over your own daughter. The door shut behind them, and the sound echoed in the empty room. I stood there, my heart racing, my emotions a tangled mess. Was I right to send them away? Had I just made the biggest mistake of my life? Update 2. With my daughter Sarah's wedding getting closer every day, it felt like the walls were starting to close in on me. Everything seemed to be spiraling out of control ever since I kicked my brother and his wife out of my house. I thought I had seen it all, but things were about to get even more intense. It all kicked off one afternoon when I was out in the garage, trying to distract myself by working on a new woodworking project. I was sanding down a piece of oak when my phone buzzed. I wiped the sawdust off my hands and checked it, seeing my parents' name flashing on the screen. A knot formed in my stomach, but I answered, hoping maybe they just wanted to chat. I was wrong. As soon as I said hello, I could hear the disappointment in my dad's voice. You've really done it this time, he said, his words heavy with frustration. Your mother and I can't believe how you treated your brother and his wife. You're acting like a jerk, you know that? Hearing him say that felt like a slap in the face. I leaned against the workbench, my grip tightening on the phone. Dad, come on. You know the whole story. How can you expect me to just forget everything and act like nothing happened? It's been over 25 years, he argued. Sure, he made a huge mistake back then, but people change. You're still clinging to this old grudge, and it's pulling the family apart. I tried to keep my cool, but it was hard. Pulling the family apart? Wasn't it him who did that when he betrayed me? Before I could add anything else, my mom took the phone from my dad, her voice softer but still sharp with criticism. Listen, we love you, she said, but you need to hear this. You're being stubborn and selfish. Your daughter wants her uncle at her wedding, and you're hurting her with this. Don't you see? The call ended without any goodbyes, just a lot of harsh words hanging in the air. I hung up the phone, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. Jessica, my girlfriend, had been in the doorway listening. She came over, her face full of concern. You know, maybe they don't understand, but I do, Jessica said, wrapping her arm around me. Her support felt like a lifeline in a sea of chaos. But maybe there's a way to handle this that doesn't end with you or Sarah getting hurt. Her words were a small comfort, but they didn't solve the big problem. The thought of seeing my brother at Sarah's wedding, acting like everything was okay, made my stomach turn. But then, there was Sarah, my daughter, who I loved more than anything. She had been calling almost every day, her voice more upset each time. Dad, please, she would say, desperation in her tone. This isn't just about you or Uncle Tom. It's my day. Don't you want to be there for me? Her pleas made my heart heavy. Was I really going to let my past with my brother ruin one of the happiest days of her life? But on the other hand, how could I just stand there and pretend everything was fine with the man who hurt me so deeply? As the wedding day drew nearer, the pressure kept mounting. I lay awake at night, the house quiet around me, wrestling with what to do. On one hand, if I stuck to my guns and refused to go, I might regret missing my daughter's wedding forever. But if I went and faced my brother, I wasn't sure I could handle it without the old wounds tearing open all over again. Felt like a no-win situation. Every option seemed to end with someone getting hurt. I spent hours pacing back and forth in my living room, trying to find some kind of middle ground. Could I really find a way to be there for Sarah without having to interact with my brother? The more I thought about it, the more complicated it seemed. The clock was ticking, and with every passing day, the decision weighed heavier on me. It was like being stuck between a rock and a hard place, and I needed to find a way out before it crushed me. Update 3. As the days leading up to Sarah's wedding flew by, I braced myself every time the phone rang or someone knocked on the door, half expecting more drama. But then something completely unexpected happened that turned the whole situation around. One quiet afternoon, I was out back in the garden, just me in the weeds trying to get my mind off things. That's when I heard the front door open and close. I figured it was Jessica getting back from somewhere, But then I heard a voice that stopped me in my tracks. "Dad? Are you out here?" It was Sarah. I straightened up, brushing dirt off my knees, and turned around to see her walking toward me, a serious look on her face. My heart skipped a beat, wondering what was on her mind this time. "Hey, kiddo," I said, trying to sound calm, even though I was anything but. She took a deep breath as she reached me, letting it out slowly, like she was about to lift a heavy weight off her shoulders. "Dad, we need to talk." We sat down together on the edge of the porch, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows on the ground. She reached out and took my hand, a gesture that brought back memories of her childhood, when a simple handhold could make everything better. "I'm really sorry, Dad, for how I handled things with Uncle Tom and his wife. I should have talked to you first instead of just springing that meeting on you," she began, her voice full of regret. Hearing her apologize like that, I felt a mix of surprise and relief. I squeezed her hand gently. "I understand why you did it, Sarah. But yeah, it was tough for me. I know, Dad. And I've been thinking about everything," she continued, her eyes earnest and sincere. "That's why I've decided that Uncle Tom and his wife won't be coming to the wedding. I want you there, Dad. It's more important that you're there, and I don't want anything to spoil that." This was the last thing I expected to hear. For a moment, I was at a loss for words. "Are you sure about this? I don't want you to feel like you have to choose or miss out on having other family there because of me," I said cautiously. She shook her head, her decision clear. "No, Dad, this is what I want. It's not just about taking sides. It's about celebrating the day with love and the family that supports us and builds us up, not the ones that might bring us down." We spent a long time talking that afternoon, more openly than we had in a while. We talked about the wedding details, about our family, and about how we both saw the future. It felt like we were repairing old bridges, ones that had needed some serious mending. By the time she left, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders, a weight I didn't fully realize I was carrying until it was gone. News of Tom and his wife not attending spread through the family pretty fast. Reactions were a mixed bag. Some were relieved, others a bit upset. But for me, it was all about making sure Sarah's day was as perfect as it could be, without the shadow of past hurts looming over us. Watching her drive away that day, I felt a peace about the upcoming wedding that I hadn't felt in weeks. Maybe, just maybe, this was a step toward healing for all of us. It wasn't going to be quick or easy, and the road ahead would have its bumps. But for now, it felt right. We were on a path that could lead to mending, not just for me and Sarah, but maybe for the whole family. One step at a time. Update 4. Just when I thought we were finally on a smooth path to Sarah's wedding, a curveball came flying our way. It was one of those sunny afternoons, the kind where you wouldn't expect any drama. I was just fixing up a snack in the kitchen when my phone rang. It was an old family friend, someone who'd been more in touch with my brother's side of the family than mine. I hesitated before answering, not sure I was in the mood for more drama, but curiosity won out. "Hey, there's something you should know about why Tom really wants to come to Sarah's wedding," the friend said right away, sounding uneasy. I leaned against the counter, a knot forming in my stomach. "Okay. Shoot," I replied, bracing myself for whatever was coming. The friend sighed heavily before continuing. "Well, it turns out Tom's got an ulterior motive. His son, your nephew, is getting married soon too. But here's the kicker. Most of the family has shunned that wedding because of the stunt Tom pulled on you years ago. They haven't forgiven him, and it's causing a huge rift." I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. So this was what it was all about? My brother wasn't trying to mend old wounds for the sake of family unity. He was trying to fix his own image. He figured that if he could get back on good terms with you at Sarah's wedding, maybe the rest of the family would soften up and decide to show up for his son's big day, the friend added, sounding just as disappointed as I felt. After the call, I sat down at the kitchen table, letting the news sink in. It felt underhanded, like a setup, and I knew I had to tell Sarah. Later that evening, when she came over, I explained everything. I watched her face fall as she processed the truth. "Dad, why can't things just be simple? Why does everything have to have an angle?" Her voice cracked with emotion, and I could see just how hurt she was. I reached out and pulled her into a hug. "I'm sorry, kiddo. Life throws these weird curves at us sometimes. But remember, we're in this together. Your wedding is about you and your happiness, not about anyone else's games." Sarah nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. "It's just so frustrating, Dad, to think that he would use my wedding, something so important to me, just to fix his own mistakes." We spent a long time talking that night. It was a deep, sometimes painful conversation, but by the end of it, Sarah seemed calmer, though the disappointment still lingered. We reaffirmed our decision together. Tom and his wife would not be invited to the wedding. And now, it wasn't just about old wounds, it was about integrity. Update 5. As Sarah's wedding day got closer, things seemed to be calming down. But of course, there was still one more piece of drama waiting for us. Sarah, feeling truly upset and betrayed by Uncle Tom's sneaky plan, decided she wasn't just going to let it slide. She needed to confront him and his wife about their real reasons for wanting to attend her wedding. One chilly evening, she met with them at a local coffee shop. She was nervous, but determined to get some real answers. She asked them straight up why they were so eager to be there, especially when they hadn't been a big part of her life before. Uncle Tom tried to dance around the question, giving half answers and acting like he just wanted to be part of the family again. But Sarah wasn't having it. She saw right through the excuses. Feeling like she hadn't gotten the truth from them directly, she decided to take things one step further. She made a video, and she posted it on social media. In the video, she explained the entire situation, how she found out that Uncle Tom was trying to use her wedding to fix his own family problems, because many relatives were still mad at him for what he did years ago. She talked about how betrayed she felt, how she wanted a drama-free wedding, and how she refused to let her special day be manipulated. The video blew up. It spread quickly within our family and friend circles. People were furious. They left comments supporting Sarah, saying how shocked they were by Uncle Tom's actions. Some even admitted they had been considering forgiving Tom, but now, after seeing what he was really up to, they wanted nothing to do with him. Tom's entire plan backfired spectacularly. Now, not only was he still banned from Sarah's wedding, but even more family members decided they wouldn't be going to his son's wedding either. The drama in the family kicked up another level. People were taking sides. There were heated discussions at gatherings. And honestly, it was kind of satisfying to see the truth come out. Uncle Tom eventually called me, sounding completely defeated. I just wanted to make things right, he mumbled, his voice full of regret. But I see now. I messed up. I should never have tried to use Sarah's wedding like that. I could tell he was genuinely sorry. But for a lot of people it was too little, too late. Despite everything that happened, Sarah's wedding day finally arrived, and it was perfect. The sun was shining. The air was filled with excitement, and, for the first time in weeks, we felt like we could breathe. Sure, there was still a little tension in the air because of all the family drama. But we all made a choice to put it aside and focus on Sarah and her happiness. And she looked absolutely stunning. As she walked down the aisle, all smiles and glowing, I felt a wave of relief and happiness wash over me. We were all there for her. That was all that mattered. The reception was gorgeous, full of laughter, dancing, and so much cake. And for one day, at least, it felt like all the drama had been put on hold. After the wedding, things didn't just magically go back to normal in the family. The rifts were still there. The wounds would take time to heal. But what mattered was that Sarah had the wedding she deserved. She knew she was supported by people who truly loved her, without hidden agendas or lies. This whole situation taught us a lot about being honest and standing up for what we believe in. It was messy and painful at times, but in the end, it brought some of us even closer. For Sarah, it was a lesson in handling tough situations with grace and strength. And for me, it was proof that sometimes the best thing you can do is stand your ground. No matter how long it takes.